Good evening, everyone. This is your evening news recap. I hope all of you guys are having a wonderful day. My day is pretty all right. This is your nightly news podcast on all the news throughout the day that I find or come across. I'm giving you my opinion or take on the news as somebody who aspires to be a politician in the near future. Hope all of you guys are doing well. Today is June 11th, and today is Wednesday. It's an interesting day, There's been quite a few interesting things going on throughout the United States and, around the world as a whole. But most of our news today is covering the United States. So hope you guys are all doing well. Everything's going great for me. It's summertime. I've got a Minecraft server coming up shortly with my friends, so expect some pictures of my great Minecraft builds. I am goated at the craft, as the kids say. I've always been really good at building in Minecraft. I really enjoy building and just creating new things overall. So expect some pictures because there will be some really cool things that I do on this world. But outside of that, hope all of you guys are doing well, and let's get into today's news recap. The first topic we have today, moving into the Trump administration segment, is the State Department has ordered the evacuation of personnel from multiple embassies in the Middle East. The State Department is ordering the departure of all non-essential personnel at embassies in Baghdad, Bahrain, and Kuwait. The State Department claims this is due to potential regional unrest, as the Pentagon is standing by to help evacuate family members and non-essential personnel. And officials have spoken on anonymity about this plan due to these plans not being made to the public. Outside of Kuwait, both Baghdad and Bahrain are both micronations. So it's interesting to hear this. I do wonder what conflict might be brewing, especially, if the plans aren't intended to be shared with the public, which is honestly, quite worrying. I hope we don't see another conflict in the Middle East, but, we already have one going already, of course, in Yemen, and anything bigger would just be not great. I feel like at least next time, or this time, I guess, since it's an ongoing conflict, it's going to be a lot worse than it has before, especially with the Trump administration. I truly do worry with struggles for nuclear deals with Iran, right? I might be wrong on that. I think it's Iran. Um, Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm like 99.9% sure we're working on a nuclear deal with Iran right now. And that deal is having some struggles. Of course, Iran, I believe, or it might be Baghdad, one of the two. No, it is Baghdad, I believe, is a city state in Iran. And it's just really interesting, to see the struggles with this nuclear deal. And now that we are pulling people out of embassies, it does quite worry me a little bit. So I'm interesting to see how this situation plays out, what happens, and if we can find any information on why they're being pulled from embassies. But as of right now, we'll just have to wait and find out. Moving on to some more odd news and honestly alarming, Tulsi Gabbard is putting documents into AI to see if things are classified or not. National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard said her office used AI to decide which JFK files should be released to the public. Gabbard attested to the use of AI and machine learning in her office, saying it helped specifically with declassification. Gabbard said, "We have released tens of thousands of documents related to the assassinations of JFK and Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and we have been able to do that through the use of AI tools far more quickly than what was done previously, which is to have humans go through and look at every single one of these pages." Gabbard said that AI can look for information that may impact living family members. However, some of the JFK files released didn't have necessary redactions to shield private information, displaying social security numbers, birth dates, and birthplaces belonging to former staffers and others who are still living. And we're so worried about AI and being used in schools. I mean, come on, like, you have to be kidding me. Not only does this, like, not work, but it's clearly a stupid idea. I mean, what else are they feeding into AI? Do you know how easy it is to hack into one of these AI systems and retrieve all of that data? It's way too easy. I will tell you that much. I don't know what government system the AI is using, but if it's anything like the Signal group chats, boom, all that information gone right there. Easy as that, truly. AI needs to be regulated, kept out of schools and the government. Especially in education and the government. Those are the two areas where you would hope people would be doing the reading and doing the job that they are supposed to do, rather than just having an AI do it for them. But that is not the case, which I do believe will lead to many fundamental issues in society, whether that be with intelligence or how we conduct ourselves as a whole. Um, I think overall, AI needs to be regulated heavily. I think truly both AI and robots could likely lead to harm to human civilization. We've seen that, in modern media from time and time again, and even now we see that from time and time again. So I truly, I do worry about how AI shapes our world and how robots shape the world. I think taking human jobs definitely shouldn't be a thing, and I think people using AI to get their schoolwork done definitely shouldn't be a thing. We should be, as humans, we should be doing work for ourselves rather than sourcing it to other technology to do it for us. Anyhow, moving on to our final Trump administration segment today, as military equipment has begun appearing all over Washington, D.C. Dozens of tanks and other military vehicles have begun showing up in Washington, D.C. for Trump's military parade this weekend. The parade will be on Saturday, Trump's 79th birthday, and is claimed to be for Flag Day and to celebrate the 250th year of the anniversary of the U.S. Army. My apologies. When asked about what to expect, Trump said, "So the Army is a year older than the country, so we are celebrating 250 years, but we're celebrating the Army on Flag Day. And it's not my birthday. It is my birthday, but I'm not celebrating my birthday. I'm celebrating Flag Day. It happens to be the same day, so I take a little heat, but Flag Day is the appropriate day, so we're celebrating 250 years of the Army and great service." Word on the street is it's going to rain during the parade as well. Even Mother Nature is fed up, which I'm not surprised. Especially with drill, baby drill. But I have a feeling that the 14th will be an interesting day in American history, to say the least. Hopefully, a more positive one. But I have a gut feeling in me that says otherwise. Honestly, I can't tell. But remember to keep your protests as peaceful as possible. As much as the internet would explode over Americans standing face to face or toe to toe with a tank, I don't think any of us want to see that or experience that. So be sure to stay safe. If it gets too bad, please worry about yourselves and get yourself to safety rather than allowing yourself to be persecuted and attacked by the United States government and the United States military. I mean, this is going to be a military protest, so I wouldn't be shocked if there were more military equipment or even ammunition, to say the least, available on scene. So, be careful and, make sure to take all necessary precautions for yourself if you plan on attending protests on June 14th, especially in the DC area. Moving on into our ICE news segment, we have a few topics today, as there's been just some interesting news around ICE overall. The first topic we have today is tactical ICE raids will be happening in 5 major cities. ICE is preparing to deploy special response teams in 5 major cities run by Democrats. SRTs are elite SWAT tactical teams responsible for high risk targets. According to reports, teams will deploy in Northern Virginia, New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, and Seattle. ICE officials say protesters won't deter them as they plan to double down on enforcement operations. Um, this is kind of off topic, but I'm not going to just reiterate myself. Be sure to speak out, protest against the ICE raids. Speak out against ICE. Fuck ICE. Get rid of the program. Anyways, I have something else I really want to touch on for this one. I wonder why these raids are never conducted in Republican areas and they're always conducted in these Democratic cities. I mean, let's be real for a second. I'll use myself as an example in this one. I live in the Central Valley of California. Shout out to the 209. But so many people here are Mexican American and many aren't citizens. But you never really see ICE here. I don't think I've ever. No, I'll take that back. I've seen one ICE van in my time living in the Central Valley of California, and it wasn't even during the Trump administration. So, I mean, my area is overwhelmingly conservative and simultaneously is filled with people who aren't citizens. I mean, some of my best friends throughout high school didn't have citizenship. So not only would they find success here, but they would be supported by, the collective conservative masses. So why aren't they here? It's truly interesting to me. They would, you, you think instead of these big cities, with progressive populations who don't stand for the deportations, they would be in the rural areas with large amounts of, immigrant populations and large amounts of conservative populations where they would be supported and allowed to, move freely, but rather they're in these progressive cities, where people are going to protest and speak out and argue and fight. It's really interesting, isn't it? Maybe I'm missing something here, but it doesn't seem like, or doesn't it seem like, an easier place to start in communities where you can get away with it. And this is probably or a part of a deterrence to push us away from the fact that Elon Musk said Trump was in the Epstein files. But I mean, realistically, though, like throughout this entire Trump administration, living in a conservative area with a high immigrant population, I have not seen a single ICE officer. But you hear about LA in these, cities with, although they do have some sizable immigrant population, it's honestly a lot less than it is here. I mean, the populations here are a lot larger due to farm workers, a lot of people, or construction even, a lot of construction workers or farm workers live in the Central Valley, and overall the population here does tend to be a little bit higher than it does in LA. So you'd think that they would be coming through, the Central Valley and coming after the people here rather than the people in the progressive populations. But you know, I don't, I'm glad they're not coming here. I'm glad my friends aren't being hurt and picked up off of the street, but I truly just do find it interesting that I've never seen any ICE agents, and I thought I would see ICE agents, but that hasn't been the case. Especially here, I know I'm continuing on this, but I mean, when Trump was first elected, I genuinely thought that me seeing ICE agents in my area would be a local occurrence, and I haven't seen a single one. It's truly bizarre to me. Like, you're going after these big name areas where there are, of course, large amounts of immigrant populations, but there are larger amounts here. So why aren't you here? Again, I'm glad they're not. I'm glad people here aren't being attacked or persecuted. But I truly am confused on why I don't see more immigration agents here. But moving on, since we got to move on, ICE agents are going to provide security at the FIFA World Cup and tell non-citizens to bring their papers. According to NBC, the Department of Homeland Security has confirmed that ICE agents will be providing security during the FIFA World Cup. Hard Rock Stadium in Miami will have agents all over the stadium. FIFA President Gianna Infantino, I'm pronouncing that horribly, I believe, my apologies, was asked about any concerns of this and said, "No, I don't have any concerns about anything in the sense that we are attentive to security question, of course. The most important thing for us is to guarantee the security of all fans who come to the games. This is our priority. This is the priority of the authorities who are here, and we don't want everyone to come to, or we want everyone to come to the games to pass a good moment." He added that he didn't want anyone to come to the games and bring problems. I don't like this. I was already worried about these events, especially in the current stage of the country, but having ICE agents as the security at the events seems like a problem waiting to happen. I'm quite skeptical, honestly. Something about it doesn't seem right. I just worry, we're going to have large amounts of populations coming into the United States to come see the World Cup, especially because soccer is one of the most popular sports throughout the world. So I worry about, the people who are coming here. I worry that some of these people might be deported or persecuted against. And that's not what needs to happen. These people should have the opportunity to come to the United States to enjoy their sport and, to get to see local areas throughout the United States. But I do somewhat worry that, somebody is going to get arrested by an ICE agent because they're an illegal immigrant where they're just coming here to view a soccer game or, something along the lines of that. And I don't know. I'm skeptical, truly. But, moving on into our other news segment where we have two topics today. The first thing we have is Newsom addressed a warning to the nation. In a speech today, or on Tuesday, my apologies, Gavin Newsom addressed Californians and the nation speaking out against the Trump administration. In his video speech, he said, "What is happening right now is very different than anything we've seen before. This isn't just about protests here in Los Angeles when Donald Trump sought blanket authority to commandeer the National Guard. He made that order to apply to every state in this nation. He said, this is about all of us. This is about you. California may be the first, but it clearly will not end here. Other states will be next. Democracy is next." If you didn't see the speech, I truly recommend you go watch it. Great speech. Governor Newsom was very clear and very decisive about his stance on the Trump administration and the impacts that it does have. And he was completely correct. I agree with what he said during his speech. I've been very clear on multiple occasions now how much I don't like Newsom. I overall think he's failed as California's governor. But, what he said within the past few months and weeks have been completely true. I know he is likely wanting to make a presidential run since he can't run for governor again. And, I hope he doesn't become the Democratic candidate. But, I don't think he's the worst option. Do we have better options? 100%. Tim Walz is up there. Andy Ogles, I believe he's the governor in Illinois, Kentucky. Hold on. I can't get that one wrong. I can let myself get a few things wrong, but I don't want to get that one wrong. Andy Ogles is... I don't even think I'm trying to talk about Andy Ogles. I think I'm talking about... Yeah, I'm talking about a wholly different conservative representative here, and I am on a long train. A different Andy. Hold on. Andy Berkshire is one, but I don't think he's the one I'm trying to talk about. I see him on TikTok all the time, and now I'm blanking on his name because I messed it up so bad. My apologies. But it's been a long day. I can't believe I said Andy Ogles. Of course, he is a Republican. I should have known that. But you know, there are overall some better options than Gavin Newsom for running for the Democratic option. And of course, I mean, I don't think he's the worst choice. That's for sure. I definitely do think there are worse choices out there. But that doesn't mean I want to see Gavin Newsom be president. I think AOC, in my opinion, is the perfect option. Granted, she probably won't want to run, but I could see her, or there's a few other people like Tim Walz would be good. I don't think Kamala Harris would run again. As much as I would love to see her run, I don't think she would win or run again, unfortunately. But like Tim Walz and a few other people, I think would do very well. And I think we're at a time in the Democratic Party. Of course, I'm not a Democrat. Said that on multiple occasions, but I think we're at a time where the Democratic Party is really struggling to find which way they want to go. If they want to be that more moderate, party, or if they want to be that full-on leftist party. And I think they got to take a side. And I would prefer if the Democratic Party took, a more leftist side, a more left turning side with AOC. But, I really just don't think that is going to be the case. I think it's just going to be another moderate Democratic candidate, which is very unfortunate. But that's just kind of how it plays out. New parties must be on the rise. I've said multiple times that I will not run for the Democratic Party. I could see myself running for the DSA, but at the end of the day, I've always thought from a young age that it would be cool to create my own party. So if I had that opportunity, I definitely would. But I see myself running with the DSA most likely. Um, that's just kind of where my values tend to agree with most. But moving on into our final topic today, Texas has deployed its National Guard. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has ordered the state's National Guard to deploy to San Antonio ahead of immigration protests this week. In a post on social media, Abbott said the National Guard will be deployed to locations across the state to ensure peace and order. Peaceful protest is legal, but harming a person's property is illegal and will lead to arrest. He added the National Guard will use every tool and strategy to help law enforcement to maintain order. Okay, wannabe Trump. I mean, we've seen, the deploying of the troops to these protests only makes them worse. So who in their right mind would do this? But of course it has to be a Republican from Texas, because why wouldn't it be? I loathe for the day when Texas turns blue. I mean, it would be such a formidable trio to have Texas, New York, and California all together on the same side. I mean, can you imagine that? Those would be some of the most strong blue states in this entire country. So hopefully one day we can see that, but I don't think that'll be the case for a very long time. Texas is such an interesting place. I think that's another one of those states where in a few years it could turn blue or it just sticks red for a long, long time. And it's at one of those stages where it's trying to decide between the progressive city population and, the conservative rural population. And it's not like California where it is dominated by a majority of progressive populations. But, I think over the next few years, we'll see a little bit of a shift in Texas politics. And hopefully that goes to a more blue way of looking at it, or a more left way of looking at it. But, with that being said, thank you everyone for watching this news recap. Hope you all enjoyed. Bit of a longer one today. Kind of went on a few little tangents and rambles as these episodes seemingly, are becoming a bit longer throughout the week. But, I'm always one to like a little bit longer YouTube videos or YouTube episodes or whatever. So I hope you guys don't mind when these episodes turn out to be a little longer, than the 10 to 15 minutes they normally are. But, that's just how it goes sometimes. Hopefully you all enjoyed. If you're on if you're on YouTube, please consider subscribing, dropping a like, dropping a comment down below. We're on our way to 500 subscribers on YouTube. I'd love to hit it by the end of the summer. So share it with your friends, share it with your family, get the channel out to as many people as you can. Because, it's always been my dream to have a YouTube play button one day. And I really do, that I can get it, from doing this on YouTube. If you're on Substack, please consider pledging your support. All funds go to me. They'll help me pay for the things that I'll need to pay for in college, like food, clothing, all those sorts of things. You guys get the gist. But if not, you can always subscribe for free. Truly do appreciate all forms of support on this content. It means the world to me. Wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for you guys. Truly, I appreciate all forms of, comments and likes and all those things down below. So thank you to everyone who comes out and watches every single episode. Thank you everyone who comes out and comments on every single episode. I love hearing what you guys have to say on all the different topics and, all sorts of things. So keep commenting, keep leaving your thoughts, keep letting me know how you guys feel. My goal out here is to be a politician and work for you guys. So obviously I want to hear your guys' thoughts and hear what you guys think about things, because it's my goal to reflect how the people feel and how, the people want things to be done. So, keep letting me know. I truly do appreciate it all so much. But yeah, with that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in tomorrow's episode. Later.